Hi, welcome to today's Collaborative Solutions webinar, Quick Wins to get the most value from your Workday investment. My name is Kate Zagurski, and I'm a member of the Collaborative Solutions marketing team coming to you today from Reston, Virginia. Those of you listening to today's webinar are in great company, as we have several of you joining us from all over the world to learn quick, tried and true ways to help your organization realize the value of your Workday investment for Workday onboarding, business asset tracking, and mass operation management. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few quick housekeeping items. First, all participants are in listen-only mode and will be muted throughout the webinar. Second, if you have any questions, please submit them using the GoToWebinar chat box, and we will have a short Q&A at the end of the presentation. Now, I'd like to share a little bit about who we are. Collaborative Solutions is the longest tenured Workday deployment partner, but we are also a finance and HR transformation consultancy. It is our mission to help you get the best end-to-end experience from strategy and change management to deployment and post-production services. This gives us a holistic view on how to manage your needs and truly meet your strategic objectives. And we do this with over 550 customers in 125 countries with a 98% customer satisfaction rating. We view customer satisfaction not in go live, but in actual referenceability of our customers, which is incredibly important to us because it is our goal to ensure that our customers are long-term partners with us, that they're able to adopt all the benefits of Workday as they grow. Now, I'd like to introduce today's webinar speakers and my fellow Collabi colleagues. First, we have Brian Ingalls, who is a CVS Principal Consultant at Collaborative. He's certified in HCM, Benefits, Advanced Reporting, Learning, and Recruiting. Next up is Beth Will. She is a Senior Principal Consultant in the CVS practice with 8 years of Workday experience and is certified in HCM, Core and Advanced Comp, and Benefits. We also have Christine Milliken joining us. She is one of our senior managers in our CVS practice, who has been with Collaborative for almost 6 years and has been in the Workday ecosystem for the last 7. She is certified in talent and HCM and was previously a product lead for HCM. And lastly, I'd like to introduce Mike Brown, one of our customer success managers who focuses solely on in-production customers. He has been in the Workday ecosystem for 9 years in various consulting and customer roles. And with that, let's get started. Brian, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Kate. Today we'll be discussing the benefits of onboarding, business asset tracking, mass operation management, tenant analysis and plan, and then we have a question and answer session at the end. My name is Brian Ingalls, and I'm a principal consultant with our CVS practice, and I will start us off with onboarding. Onboarding within Workday is a simple and a great way to create a customized onboarding experience for your new hires. Onboarding allows you to streamline your onboarding tasks and provide a simplified onboarding experience. Onboarding incorporates customized communication and branding with your onboarding tasks to create a great first impression for your new hires. Onboarding consists of 2 business processes. The first process is the onboarding setup process. This process allows you to utilize the onboarding templates for each unique group of new hires, as well as any additional customization of the standard templates for a more personalized experience. The second business process is onboarding, and onboarding is a process that contains all the tasks. So here's a sample list of the allowed sub-processes within onboarding. This is not a complete list, but these are the most commonly used ones. Some examples are legal name change, complete Form I-9, federal and state tax elections, and change of benefits are some of the processes listed in the slide. We can also utilize review document and to-do steps within the onboarding to review employee handbooks and update photos and any other various tasks that you might need to have new hires complete. So this is the onboarding dashboard. This dashboard is where new hires can go for everything onboarding. In the blue highlighted section in the middle, we have the manager message, and this is derived from the onboarding templates, which contain the custom manager message and recommended people to meet. The orange highlighted section in the middle right, this is the onboarding progress tracker. This will display onboarding processes for the new hire. The green section in the bottom left, this is derived from the onboarding template as well, and this is helpful context that the new hire can reach out to if they have any questions. The purple highlighted section at the bottom right and the top are additional bulletin worklets and announcements that can be displayed. Some examples of these could be a CEO welcome message, any corporate accolades like best company to work for in 2018. The custom worklets below can also contain culture videos, core value messages, and any additional helpful information for new hires. The dashboard is available to the new hires after they complete onboarding to allow the new hires to reference this information as needed. The manager involvement. So the onboarding setup template allows the manager to get involved with the onboarding process. The manager can customize an onboarding message, add people to meet, or helpful contacts for their new hires. So the onboarding template. The onboarding template can be pre-populated with a standard from my manager message, people to meet and helpful contacts. The people to meet and helpful contacts can be specific individuals or security role assignments that correspond with each new hire, like an HR partner or a team leader. And multiple templates can be used to create templates for different types of new hires that you would have, and condition rules are utilized to specify these templates for each group. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and show you a demo of what onboarding looks like. Okay, so I am in as Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne is a recent new hire, and as you see on the home dashboard, you can see that he has the onboarding worklet. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and this is going to take us to the onboarding dashboard. So Bruce has 11 inbox items in his inbox, which are his onboarding tasks. You can see that the tracker reflects these 11 items, and this allows for the employee to actually track the progress and how far along they are in onboarding. There are 3 announcements at the top of the dashboard. The first announcement is from Steve Morgan, and this is a welcome video and a welcome message welcoming the new hire to the organization. The second announcement we have is from Logan, and this is just a what to expect on your first day, some checklist items that you might want to complete on your first day. And then the third announcement is a quick link to learning. So this is a great way to feature new functionality for your new hires for easy adoption right from the get-go. So next we have the From My Manager worklets and helpful context. This information is derived from the onboarding template. And then below that, we have our bulletin worklets. These contain core value messages, helpful information, and also a recommendation on using Workday on mobile. So kind of jumping into these worklets, I want to demo what functionality we can actually put into these worklets. So in the Guided by Principal worklet, you can see that we can have configurable text within the Guided by Principles worklet. To have an Android, iPhone, or iPad worklet, this is a nice little video to connect to mobile to really have your new hires adopt the mobile functionality within Workday. And then helpful information, we're going to look at what are my benefit choices, and as you see here, we have a hyperlink that you can click on, and this gives a quick little snapshot of benefits that the new hire would be eligible for. Okay, so jumping over into the onboarding tasks, we have the inbox and we have the 11 ready items here. Both of these links go to the inbox. So I'm going to click on the ready link and show you what the inbox is going to look like. So as you see here, we have 11 onboarding tasks for the employee to complete. And I'm going to go through a few of these just to show you the functionality. So the first one is a review document step. So this allows for employees to agree to employee handbooks, agree to non-disclosure, non-compete agreements, upload files for bringing your dog to work or any other type of file you might need to have uploaded by the employee, and also just attaching documents that are welcome messages to employees, just to give them a nice homey feel. So looking at these tasks, that's the review document task. The change benefits for life event. This is essentially making your benefit elections within Workday with the benefit functionality. This works just as the regular change benefit step. It's just included within onboarding. Another task is the change form I-9, and this allows for the employee to actually complete their I-9 form within Workday. And with an integration set up, you can actually send this information over to E-Verify. And the last task I'm going to discuss is the change my photo, which this is a to-do task. This allows the employee to go in and update a photo on their worker profile just to create a more customized experience and actually have photos for all your employees. And just listing off the other tasks, we have change emergency contacts, where you can update emergency contacts. Another to-do task to upload skills and experiences, payment elections, to upload your different payment elections, complete state and local tax withholding forms, same with the federal withholding elections. And then there's also review tasks for the employee to review the information that was entered in during the hire process, just to validate this information is correct and nothing's changed, and same with personal information. Okay, so I showed you what onboarding was at the end. So now I'm going to show you how we get to onboarding. So this is the onboarding setup template that I've mentioned, and this is where we can have multiple templates set up with condition rules, and these condition rules are going to determine what template is going to be fired for different groups of new hires. So in this next example, I'm going to hire Barry Allen, and Barry Allen is going to be in the GMS workers template, and this is the condition rule that he's meeting to have this template trigger for him. So looking at this template, we can see that we have a from my manager message, and then we also have benefits partner and payroll partner as the roles on people to meet. Now, Maria Cardoza is both in this example, so we're only going to see one name, but I just wanted to highlight that you could have multiple roles within this template to populate the people to meet. And then scrolling over, you can also see that for helpful contacts, we have Brian Sullivan, Jeff Gordon, and Norman Chan, and these are just named individuals that will populate on the template. So I'm switching over to Angela, and Angela is going to be Barry's manager. So Angela has received an onboarding setup task, and this is what the onboarding setup task looks like from the manager perspective. And this is where the manager can get involved and actually update this template to reflect a more personalized approach, or just add in additional people that might not be part of the standardized template. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add Betty Lou. As a person to meet, and we'll see how this shows up on Barry Allen's onboarding. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And I'm going to proxy in as Barry Allen. And I'll go to the onboarding worklet. And now this is Barry Allen's onboarding worklet, which is very similar to Bruce Wayne, though we do have a new person to meet here that was added ad hoc by the manager to customize this onboarding experience for Barry Allen. So this wraps up my demo on onboarding. I'm going to highlight some new features that came out with Workday 30. Okay, so onboarding as a business process. When Workday 30 came out, Workday made onboarding a standalone process. So now onboarding can be launched on its own, and it can also be enabled with the sub-process as a sub-process for change job, add additional job, and start international assignment. So onboarding can now be not only used in hire, but also during additional job changes and international assignments. This completes my presentation and demo on onboarding. The next presenter is Beth Will, and she is going to be talking about business asset tracking.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about business asset tracking for HCM-only customers. What may come as a surprise to you, some of you, is that you do not need Workday financials to track business assets in Workday. Business asset tracking for HCM-only customers involves the tracking of tangible or intangible objects to a location, a worker, or an organization. Examples of business assets include laptops, cell phones, company cars, software licenses, and company credit cards. Workday allows you to track the full life cycle of an asset. This includes registration of the asset, the issuing of the asset to a location, an org, or a worker, the transferring of the asset to another worker or entity, and the removal of the asset from service when it's no longer functional or needed. Please make note that business asset accounting is not available without Workday Financials. Finally, configuration of business asset tracking for HCM is luckily relatively straightforward and simple to configure. Now I'll go over the steps you need to follow at a minimum to get up and running with tracking business assets. First, you'll need to enable the Common Financial Management Security functional area. You do not need Workday Financials to enable this functional area. Within the area, you'll also need to enable the security domain, setup, spend categories. Next, you'll need to enable the Business Asset Tracking functional area. Within this area, you'll also need to enable the following domains that are shown in the middle slide, the purple section, if they are not already enabled in your tenant. These security domains include process, business assets. For this domain, you'll need to give the appropriate security groups view and modify access. The next domain is reports, business assets. You can assign the security group just view-only access to this domain. Next is setup business asset tracking. Again, view-only access is needed. And then view business assets security domain, view-only access again. Worker data business assets with view-only access. And finally, self-service business assets. Again, with view-only access to your self-service security groups such as employee self, or contingent worker self. You'll need to add the appropriate security groups to the above listed security domains per your business needs. Many tenants are delivered with the business asset tracking specialist role. This is a role-based security group that's typically enabled to the company. You may choose this role to manage your company assets in Workday, or you can use another role that already exists in your tenant. There are 4 business processes that you'll need to set up: asset registration event, asset issue event, asset transfer event, and asset removal event. If you can't find these BPs in your tenant, you'll have to create the default definitions via the Create Business Process Definition task. Once your definitions are created, you'll need to set up the BP security and the workflow for each of the business process definitions to meet your needs. The Asset Registration Event BP requires the addition of Step B, which is Register Business Asset Action Step. The other BPs on this slide can be set up with just the initiation step if desired. Once you've configured your business processes, there are several more steps that you'll need to complete before you can get started. Use the Maintain Spend Categories task to create categories for your assets that you'll be tracking. For example, you could create a spend category called Software and another called Hardware Computer. When creating these spend categories, you must check Yes in the Track Items field checkbox when adding a new spend category. Also, consider working with your accounting department when setting up these spend categories in case you plan to deploy Workday financials in the future. As an example, an accounting best practice is to have one category per fixed asset. Next, you're going to either create new locations or update your existing locations, or maybe a combination of both, making sure that business asset is added as a location usage. Finally, for this slide, you'll need to create a sequence generator for assets via the Create ID definition sequence generator for assets task. Once you've created the sequence generator, you'll then need to add it in Edit Tenant Setup Financials. Okay, here is a screenshot of the spend category setup. There are a lot of potential fields to fill out, as you can see. For HCM purposes, you only need the spend category name and the track items field checkbox checked yes, highlighted in yellow. The other fields are not useful without accounting and Workday. After creating spend categories, updating the locations for business asset tracking usage, and creating a sequence generator, you'll use the Maintain Asset Removal Reasons task to create reasons for asset removal. You'll notice that registered in error is a Workday default removal reason. Of course, you can create additional reasons based upon your business needs. Before using this task, you must enable the Setup Business Asset Accounting domain in the Business Asset Accounting functional area and add the appropriate security groups that will be responsible for setting up with View Modify Permissions. This is important. After you set up your asset removal reasons, do not forget to disable this domain. You cannot have it enabled long-term without Workday Financials. Next up, and if desired, you can also create custom objects and fields for your business assets. Finally, we recommend that you create a couple custom reports that will help you manage your business assets. A great example is creating a quick report that you can add to the worker profile that shows business assets assigned to a worker. Now let's hop into Workday for a demo. Okay, I'm proxied in as Teresa, the business asset tracking specialist for the company. First, she's going to register some assets. You must select a company. And select a spend category. I'm going to register a computer. Now the fields with pick lists are for accounting use only. However, the free text fields you can use as you see fit. So I'm going to provide an asset name. I'll go ahead and add a serial number. I'll go ahead and put a manufacturer. The acquisition method field is required, and this pick list is Workday default. Make sure you have the right acquisition date. And you can fill in a cost for your asset for reporting purposes only. Okay. After registering my asset, as you can see, you can do more than one at a time. I'm just going to create this one. Click Submit. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a field. Sorry about that. So I need a cost center tied to this asset. You can also register this asset to a location, though it's not required, and connect it with any additional work tags or organizations as required. Okay, now I'm going to navigate to a really quick custom report that I created that shows business assets by company and category. Next step is I'm going to issue the asset to a worker. So you can do this as a related action off the asset, or you can also do ad hoc task issue assets. I'm going to continue in this way as a related action off the asset. Business asset issued to worker. I'm going to go ahead and issue to Amanda Baker. And the work tags that default are the organizations or work tags associated with Amanda. So as you can see, the cost center changed from when I registered for the one that I used when I registered the asset. Okay, I'll go ahead and click Submit. I'm going to pull up my custom report again. And now, as you can see in the report, the business asset is assigned to Amanda Baker in San Francisco. Next, I'm going to go ahead and transfer the asset to another worker. Again, as a related action off the business asset itself, I'm going to click Transfer. Make sure the effective date is correct. I'm going to select my new worker. I'll transfer to new hire Bruce Wayne. Again, as you can see, the work tags defaulted from Bruce's record, and click Submit. Again, back to my report. And now you can see that this particular asset is now sitting with Bruce Wayne. And finally, for this demo, we're going to go ahead and remove the asset from circulation. Again, related action, remove, enter an effective date, a removal reason. These were set up. These can be set up as I previously described. Add any comments. And click Submit. One thing I do want to show you is the custom report that I quickly created so that I can add it to the worker profile. So if I go to Andrea, who does have some assets assigned, I added to her Overview tab a really easy report that shows at a glance all of the assets that are assigned to her. And finally, I want to mention, though I won't demo, that you can add to the termination BP, you can create a report that displays the assets assigned to a worker during the termination business process, and then also add a to-do that delivers to the appropriate party that report and tells them to remove the assets from the worker. And that concludes my demo. Next up is Christine Milliken, and she'll be talking about mass operations management.
Thanks so much, Beth. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Christine Milliken, and I will be talking today about mass operations management, which is commonly referred to as the MOM framework. The mass operations management allows you to efficiently process your transactions in bulk. You can either run the process to have it run immediately, or you can schedule it as needed or on an ongoing basis. And the intent with this framework is that it will ultimately be replacing the mass cancel and mass rescind tasks that are currently available today. This is going to be placed on the roadmap. The deprecation date has not yet been announced, but it would be very helpful to get familiar with the MOM framework in advance of that deprecation. The MOM framework is set up in 3 easy steps. Here you'll see the create the report, the configure operation, and the run now or schedule your report. We'll go ahead and open up a couple examples here so you can look at the setup of the report. While Kate is getting that up and running here for you, what you will see is the setup on both reports is very similar. What we really focus on is the filters of our reports. And you'll see here as she scrolls through, the columns has a couple fields for you, but it's really that filter where you're going to update what type of mass operation management you're trying to do. In this example, we're looking at a cancel report, and so we want that cancelable equal to yes. And then we can update any additional filters that we are wanting to get to our transactions, as well as any prompts. And in this example, we're looking at transactions of in process. She'll also open up here for us the mass advanced example. And the main difference here is when she scrolls down to that filter section, you'll see that the filter, instead of saying cancelable on the previous one, says manually advanceable equals to yes. As you're building these reports for the mass operation management, it's always best to confirm the results that you get on your report and update your filter as needed to make sure that you're only looking at the transactions that you're willing to process on. Next, we'll go into the 4 types of mass operations management. Each can be secured differently. So you can have different security groups process different items, and as delivered, the business administrator can advance and cancel, and you can have the manager security group tied to the escalation, and then you can do any type of custom security assignments for these different types as you see fit. We'll dive into each of these in just a minute and describe a few use cases for each type. So we're going to start with the escalation. Escalation tasks are any tasks that are currently sitting with managers or anyone in the management chain, and they want to be escalated because the manager has not taken action on them and you want to escalate it up the management chain. Some examples of this would be scheduling this on a regular basis for your time entry or time off approvals in order to process payroll. Some organizations like to set this up for change job to ensure that the process doesn't get stalled if the manager is out of the office. And also similarly for terminations, it's nice to have the escalation process scheduled. If the manager doesn't respond in so many days, then escalate to the next level manager. So in order to make sure that the escalation works, you'll need to make sure that the business process security policy is set up properly so that the receiver can receive the escalation. There's also what's called an unrestricted escalation checkbox that you can check on the business process security policy for the transaction. And then you have to make sure that whoever is performing the escalation must have the security to process the mass operation management. And there's a couple delivered calculated fields that you can use to report on escalations. The first being the number of times the transaction was escalated, and the second being hours awaiting action by current assignee. Again, this is really helpful when you're processing payroll and time entries. And finally, as we'll see on all the different types here, the escalation will show on the transaction details in worker history. So when you drill into the transaction itself, and normally you can see if it was processed, completed, who is awaiting action, you would see a row that would tell you that the process was escalated. The next process here is our reassign. This one is primarily utilized in cases such as recruiting, where you want to switch out your primary recruiter, or if you've had a reorg and you have management changes and you need to reassign managers on transactions that are awaiting. Also, this reassign can be used if an escalation has occurred at a predetermined number of times and nobody has responded and you want to reassign the transaction. Similarly to the escalation, the recipient needs to be on the business process security policy to be able to receive the transaction to process. And then users performing the reassign must have the reassigned security to process the mass operation management. When you are going through this process, the screen will ask you to select who to reassign the transaction from and who it should go to. So the screen for the mass operation will differ as you process each of these items. And similarly to the escalation, if you drill into the transaction itself, you will see a row on the transaction that says who the transaction was assigned from and assigned to. Next up, we have the Mass Advance. This one is really helpful in the performance process. It's also helpful, again, in the time approval process. So those are a couple of common use cases. You can send the step to completion of your business process, or you can advance to the next step in the business process. There will be a checkbox there on the screen for you to determine if you want to send it to completion or just have it go through the next step. You can also add an optional review to this step if you would like someone to review the transaction before processing it. And finally, as with the others, you'll see on the transaction details in the worker history that the transaction has been advanced. The last option that we have is our cancellation, and this one requires a review. You are not able to undo a cancellation in Workday, so Workday has required the review step. You can set up the review step with a delay where if the reviewer takes no action, the step can automatically process, or the step can be set so that it will abort if a reviewer doesn't take any action. The delay itself is based off of the initiator's time zone and not the reviewer's time zone, so that's one thing to look out for when processing a cancellation. Once the reviewer receives the step, if they only want to cancel some of the transactions but not all of them, currently they'll have to abort the transaction. The person running the cancellation mom will need to update the report and the filters on the report so that it's only the transactions that you want to cancel, and then resubmit the mom, and it'll go back to the reviewer so that they can proceed with the transaction. Some other things to know on this is that the cancellation will show on the worker history, and the reviewer can't undo their process. So if they say to process all the transactions and a transaction is accidentally canceled, the transaction itself will need to be resubmitted. Common use cases for this are definitely when you're testing large launches, such as launching performance, launching benefits open enrollment, or the merit process when you're going through implementation or sandbox testing and you want to do the process a couple times. This is a great use case for this type of transaction. So we're going to go ahead and do a demo here of Mass Advance, and we'll show you what that looks like. So here you should be seeing my screen of a report that I have created for the Mass Advance. In this example, we're using those same 4 columns that we did see on the report in the demonstration that Kate displayed the report. In this case, my filter has the manually advanceable equals to yes. And then on my prompts, I have my transactions that I'm looking at. In this case, I'm going to be looking at some performance reviews that are in progress. So I'm going to go ahead and run my report here for you, and we'll get a few examples. So in this case, I've launched this performance review process for these people, and I've decided that I want to advance their process by 1 step. So I'm just confirming on my report that these are in fact the people that I wanted. I could go ahead and make any adjustments to my filter if these were not my intended results. So next, I'm going to search for Mass Operations Management, the task itself. And here is where I select my type. As you'll see, there's multiple types here, but we're really focusing on the 4 today. So this example, again, is an advanced business process. I'm going to select my report. I'll just search for it here. And then I'm going to select my frequency. Again, this can be scheduled or it can be run immediately. So I'm going to select the run now and click OK. As I mentioned, the screen will change here based off of the type of MOM escalation that you're trying to do. In case of today, I will give my request a name. And then going through the configuration here, you can select to suppress notifications. So if you have notifications built into your business process and you don't want those to fire as a result of your mass processing of transactions, you can turn them off. In this case, I'm not going to send the step to completion, but if I wanted to, I could check that box. So right now, we're just going to mass advance it and add the comment that we're mass advancing 1 step. Then you can look here in the next section that says if we want to have a reviewer. In this case, I'm not going to have a reviewer. My report, I had displayed to not show any of the prompts because I had filled them out. But if your report, you wanted to select your prompts at the time that you're running the mass operation, you could do so. And then I will click OK. The process will be running, and then I have gotten a completion here saying that it has completed. I'll just go ahead and refresh so that you can see that. You can review everything here. It tells me the report output. It tells me the data that has been processed. So in this case, if I go to this business process for Brad and I look at it, this is where I was explaining that you can see when the mass operations management has been processed and any comments that were input as part of the mass operation management. So depending upon which type you select, you would see the type reflected in your status here. I'm going to pass the presenter back to Kate as we quickly discuss the delivered reports, domains, and tasks available to you. So wanted to give you some reference. It makes it really easy that the task and the domain name are essentially the same. And then there is a mass operations review delivered report so that you can take a look at any mass operations that have been run in your tenant. Finally, here I'm going to transition over to Mike Brown to talk about tenant analysis and planning.
Thanks, Christine. And thanks to Brian, Beth, and Christine. We've seen 3 great features that may be underutilized or not configured as part of your core HCM tenant. And as part of our comprehensive set of continuous value services offerings, we offer a tenant analysis and plan that covers the full Workday platform. This can be supported from core HR to Workday recruiting to Workday financials, or even more specialized areas such as Workday grants. So the perfect use case that may surface in your organization is perhaps you deployed Workday onboarding 5 years ago just to your US population, and you're looking to really enhance and deploy this for your global population longer term. This is really where our tenant assessment services can come into play. And basically, this is a 3-stage engagement in which we will conduct an in-tenant analysis within your sandbox or preview tenant. In parallel, we'll also conduct discovery sessions with key stakeholders to review any identified inefficiencies, discuss manual workarounds, and perhaps review some challenge points. As part of this, we can also embed our organizational change, training, and strategic services as well to support any broader user adoption, training, governance, or perhaps service delivery challenges as part of this. After the assessment is completed, we'll provide an actionable set of recommendations that are prioritized for your organization. And the beauty of this is these recommendations can be incorporated into your roadmap to further accelerate your investment in Workday, with collaborative available to provide guidance along the way. And with this, I'll turn this back over to Kate for Q&A.
Thank you, everyone. We've had some questions come in, so let's just go ahead and jump into our Q&A. The first question is actually for you, Mike. How long does it take to perform a tenant analysis and plan?
It's a 5-week engagement.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Can the tasks for the onboarding process be set to be required or optional?
So the tasks for onboarding would be, if you didn't want someone to complete a task, you can set condition rules to not have that task go to a certain subset of new hires, but all the tasks on onboarding, they can be set to manually skip as well too. So the required or optional is, I'm assuming you wanted to either be a skip or they have to complete the task.
Thanks, Brian. Next question. Can you EIB the assets into Workday and attach them to individuals?
So yes, you can. The web service is register assets. You can use that web service to load your assets into the system. To issue to worker, I believe so. Actually, I could do a quick test in the tenant. Just give me 1 second. Yes, there is a web service to issue asset as well. So you can use those 2 EIBs to both put assets into the system and to issue to workers.
Thanks, Beth. One more for you too. Can this be added to the hire term processes to provide or retrieve to a worker?
So as far as I know, there is not a delivered sub-process for assets, but you can do something pretty clever with a custom report. I don't know if you've used the reporting step types in a business process. What you do is you create a custom report. In this case, it would be for a hire. Trying to think of a use case for that, but whatever it is, you could create the custom report and add it as a report step into the BP. And then immediately after, you have a to-do that will deliver to whichever security group the output of that report, and then also some instructions on what that employee is supposed to do with that information. Same with the termination process. You can create a really easy custom report to add to the termination BP, and then again, add a to-do to coincide to go with that. That'll be delivered to a security group, and again, we'll tell, this is a little bit more specific, tell the recipient to likely remove those assets from that worker.
Thanks, Beth. One more on, aside from the asset report, is it easy enough to allow a manager access to the assets assigned to an employee? So if the employee is leaving the organization, they can have a checklist of items they need to recover.
From the employee.
From the employee.
Sure. So I think if I understood the question correctly, it was about providing the manager access to the assets that a worker is assigned, and that would be via the worker data business assets domain. You could add, as view only, you could add the manager security group to that domain.
Thanks, Beth. Next question is for Christine. What does escalation actually do?
The escalation moves the approval of the transaction to the next approver in the chain. So, for example, if a transaction is sitting with a manager and the manager is out of the office and hasn't set up any delegation, it would go to the next level manager to approve the transaction.
Thanks, Christine. This next question is for you as well. We currently don't have mom enabled, but would like to for a specific function reassigned. Is it possible to do so, or will enabling impact all functions?
So turning it on the domain level will turn it on for all 4 types. However, you can set up the security on the business process policies so that only the reassign can be utilized.
Great, thanks. This question is for Beth. How have you seen customers build in a process to determine what assets a new hire should receive so that IT can acquire the assets requested in a timely fashion and have ready for the new hire on day 1?
So to be perfectly honest, I actually do not have a lot of customers using this functionality. That's why we figured it would be a great topic because we figured it's probably underutilized. So if I was to think of ways to do that, I would think an employee coming into the company, you could perhaps output a report of the assets that are assigned to the location that the worker is being hired into, and with that report, and perhaps put a filter to see what's available. So from that report, you'll get a list of assets that are available at the location. Also, you could put a category. So if you're looking for something specific, that output would give the available assets at that location by category that you can then assign to the worker. If you're position-based, you may be able to do something that references the assets that were assigned to the worker that previously filled the position. I could see using something like that as well.
Great, thanks, Beth. This next question is for Brian. Is onboarding or the onboarding dashboard mobile enabled?
Yes, onboarding is mobile enabled, and you can access the dashboard and complete the onboarding tasks on mobile.
Thanks, Brian. All right. We are approaching the end of the hour, so if we haven't gotten a chance to answer your questions, we will follow up with you shortly. Thank you for your time on today's webinar. We will follow up this week to share a link to today's recording. If you have any questions, please feel free to reply to that email or reach us through the contact section on our website, and we'll be happy to talk with you more. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.